a team looking to be good is the Boston Red Sox. And I think we all love that Garrett Crochet deal. Well, most of us love that Garrett Crochet deal. Those of us on the show, myself and Liam Fennessy from Pod on Lansdowne, we're big fans of that deal. You really only took one of your top 10 guys, Braden Montgomery, that sent him out there, or excuse me, Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery, 2 of your top 10, 15 guys. Sorry. But you didn't touch Roman Anthony or Marcelo Meyer or Christian Campbell, and you went out and got what should be a top end starter. That's a good deal, in my opinion. But you know that you probably need to and definitely can go out and get another front end starter. And you lost out on Max Fried. Sucked. I don't think that was too crazy a deal for Max Fried. And now, because of that, because you lost out on Snell and Fried, the price for Corbin Burns has gone way up. And we just haven't heard anything about Burns in like a week here. I'm just shocked after that Max Fried deal that a Corbin Burns signing didn't happen within a week or so. It's been 9 days since that. So I'm just shocked that, Burns didn't say like, hey, that's where we're starting. We got to get up to 240, 250 for a Corbin Burns deal for a guy who's won a Cy Young and finished his top 5 each of the last 5 years. And he probably deserves that kind of money. And again, frustrating that even though there's no talks here, that the Red Sox have not made this signing yet. I mean, it's just easy, man. And there were some numbers that I looked at that I said I like Blake Snell better. But like the Corbin Burns thing is undeniable. Okay, so he's 30. Who gives a shit? That model has been out the door in baseball for 10 years. It was always the Red Sox model. You don't re-sign pitchers over 30. It's just not that way anymore. And it's a multitude of reasons. I mean, part of it is because all these pitchers are getting surgery when they're young. So they're not hitting their stride until 26, 27, 28 rather than 23 or 24. I mean, Garrett Crochet is a great example of that. He's 25, 26. And he's had Tommy John surgery. So he's only pitched one full year in the majors. He's 26, but yet he is still a sought after commodity. So we've got to ignore that, man. And we've got to get this thing nailed down for Corbin Burns. All he costs is money. And if the Red Sox don't lock this down, which, I mean, are the odds even 50-50 at this point that they get him? Like that's a bad look, because that once again shows that you are just going to have to spend your own capital every time you want to get a guy. And for a team playing in a market like Boston, that can't be acceptable. It somehow has been the last couple of years, but that can't go on. And I say it has been acceptable. In a lot of ways it hasn't, because, and this is really sad, baseball in Boston is as irrelevant as it's been since I've been alive. Since most have been alive. I mean, this was all that the Red Sox were always the number one team, always. And that included the early parts of the Patriots dynasty. That included 2 Celtics dynasties. That included the Bruins being the best team in hockey and having the best player ever to play in Bobby Orr. Like through all of that, it was the team that had not won a World Series in however many years that was the team, the first team that you learned about as a kid, the first team that you went out and saw in person, the first ball cap you got, and the most recognizable team when you were traveling anywhere outside of Boston, you were talking about the Red Sox. And that's not the case anymore. And amazingly, it has come from the same ownership group that has brought them to heights they had never seen before. Like the combination of, them winning is part of it. Like that weirdly did lose some fans along the way and didn't and kept the obsession down a little bit. That's part of it. But it's their ownership group, the lack of spending the last few years, also the fact that the Patriots became the best dynasty in the history of sports. And all of a sudden, this generation that's younger than me, they're not Red Sox fans. They're Patriots fans and they're Celtics fans. And you're probably not beating the Celtics in popularity anytime soon. And if Drake May gets the Patriots winning by next year, which is doubtful, probably the year after, then they're not going to be, they're going to be, it's going to be tough competing with the Patriots. You know, and it's just, it's sad because I grew up in a generation of the best time to grow up into the Red Sox thing. It was the best time to be a Red Sox fan in terms of there was still some heartbreak, but more drama and actually winning for the first time ever. I was very lucky to grow up in that, in the time and the place that I did, but it sucks to see where they're at now. And getting a Corbin Burnes and a big right-handed power bat that puts this team back in contention, you've got a shot here to really inject some life into this team and into baseball in this city. And I don't think I'm overplaying that because obviously the Celtics are the best team in the NBA, but the Bruins are going downhill. The Patriots are hopefully right now at rock bottom. And it's going to be a couple years before they can compete again. If the Red Sox go out and spend some money, bring some big-time free agents in here to round out a team that can go to the postseason, you will inject serious life into Boston as a baseball town again. Because the summers are long. Even after a Celtics championship, I mean, we were just sucking off that nipple for months until Celtics season started again. Because at that point, Drake May wasn't starting because usually you could fake it with one of the winter teams making a long run. And then, you know, a month and a half later, you had Patriots training camp and all the intrigue that goes into that. But there's not much intrigue there anymore. So not only are we talking about a baseball team getting back to the postseason, we're talking about a city finding its baseball identity again. All you've got to do, John Henry, is spend some money. That's how you win right now in Major League Baseball. It's certainly helped the last, 30, 40 years in Major League Baseball. But right now, you look at the teams that were in the Final Four and in the World Series, for the exception of Cleveland, these teams spend stupid. Look who the Dodgers had to play in the postseason. The Padres, okay? Like a classic example, like a case study on how you can pour so much money into a team and still not go to the World Series. The Mets, who Uncle Steve just put out $765 million for one player, a contract that's going to go over $800 million. They were spending before that too, but that's the mentality of a team that they played in the NLCS. And then in the World Series, they faced the Yankees, who gave up all this for 1 year of Juan Soto, who were paying Aaron Judge, I don't know, however many hundreds of millions of dollars. We're talking about the Yankees here. And the Dodgers themselves spend more than all of them. That's how you win now. It's not like you can't just, you can't moneyball this thing. You can have a moneyball kind of focus, which is what they always had under Theo, but they spent money. And even the guys who Duquette signed that were part of those teams, like you extended Pedro, you had to spend money for that. You gave Manny like the biggest contract ever at the time. You have to do these things, and it does pay off. You win World Series because of that, and that's still the name of the game in 2024. There's a lot of talk with Anthony Santander. I think that would be a bad move for the Red Sox. Not that he doesn't produce. He's a 30 home run guy, but it would show once again that they are trying to cheap out and find some value. I like that they didn't re-sign Tyler O'Neill for the money that he got with Baltimore. That was ridiculous. 3 years, $70 million or whatever it is. It's asinine. Don't do that. But they tried to cheap out in the past with Renfroe and O'Neill. And they did fine for you, and then you didn't do anything with them, and those teams didn't win. I mean, Renfroe's team went to the ALCS, and he sucked in the postseason. You got to go out there and get a right-handed bat for years, not just 1 year, for years. Santander has got power numbers, but he doesn't have great numbers at Fenway, and he's a abysmal fielder that you'll just have to stick in left field, and I would so much rather have Teoscar Hernandez. So much rather go out and get Teoscar Hernandez, a guy who has been interested in the Red Sox before. In fact, he said he wouldn't have minded signing with them last season. He's a guy who's finished in the MVP, top 20 in the MVP voting 2 or 3 times. He's kind of a pure power guy. I mean, 33 homers last year, which was a career high, but only 99 RBI. Did have a 30 home run season in Toronto as well. And those other seasons, he's right around that, 25 plus homers. And honestly, that's something the Red Sox haven't really had from the right-handed hitting spot, 25 plus home run guy. They haven't really had that since JD Martinez. I think Renfroe hit, 26 or 28 one year. O'Neill hit 20 last year or so. And you haven't had that since JD Martinez, Mookie Betts. Here's a guy, he's 32. He's not going to demand an 8-year deal. I'm not saying it's going to be cheap, but he's not going to demand that much in the market. He's got really good numbers at Fenway over his career. With a big sample size, obviously, with all those years in Toronto. In 44 games there, he's hit almost 300, 14 homers, 44 RBI at Fenway Park. You need some balance in the middle of that lineup. Teoscar Hernandez is the guy. Anthony Santander wouldn't be a bad signing. And I know his numbers aren't that much different from Teoscar, but it would show that you're trying to go a little bit cheaper. And I just don't think that's the way the Red Sox should go right now. I also think they need to sign Corbin Burnes. If we're being totally honest, I think Burnes is more important than Hernandez, but Hernandez does fill a pretty sizable need for this team. Right-handed power bat in the middle of the lineup. Don't try to put Alex Bregman in there and, sign him to a pretty good deal and then be like, well, we weren't cheaping out. We got Alex Bregman. Well, you were cheaping out because you didn't get the power that you needed. I'm not a big Bregman guy at this point in his career. He's the same age as Teoscar. I would rather take Teoscar's home run power and his production at this point than whatever Bregman will give you. And again, I think there's still something in the tank for Bregman, but he's 31. You're going to make him play second base, a position he's never played. I'm not buying it. I will buy Teoscar Hernandez.
We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. And if you like this video, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter here for some more outrageous Boston sports takes coming to you every weekday at noon Eastern time. And then after that, wherever you get your podcasts.